Okay, so aloha mai, kako. My name is Erica Diaz, and I'm the Hawaiian and Pacific Resources Librarian at Kapi'olani Community College. On behalf of the NEA Big Read Hawaii, we welcome you to Poetry, Stories, Life with Kealoha. Born and raised on Oʻahu, Kealoha left the islands to pursue a degree in nuclear engineering from MIT, and then pursue a career in San Francisco as a business consultant. He returned home to Hawaii to chase his dreams, ultimately becoming the Poet Laureate for Hawaii. His poetry draws from his life experiences and observations.
Cool. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Big Read Hawaii, the kickoff event. We're just gonna hang out for a little bit in my living room. I'm gonna do some poems for y'all, so sit back, relax. After this half hour, we'll go into the workshop room and we'll work on writing our own poems together. So cool. Best way I can introduce myself is through the poems. So here we go. E ho mai kai ke mai no mai e o na mea huna no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai kai ke mai no mai e o na mea huna no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai kai ke mai luna mai e o na mea huna no e au o na mele e ho mai e ho mai e ho mai You see, I come from a long line of impossibilities. A circumstance that happened to manifest because random chance allowed it to. My father has produced nearly 400 billion sperm cells in his lifetime. It's true, I Googled it. One of which happened to unite with one of the 500 eggs of my mother, which happened to develop into me. And when we calculate the probability of that specific sperm egg combination, the chances are roughly 200 trillion to 1. Because had it been a different month, a different day, a different egg, a different sperm, the child would have been similar, but he or she would have been a completely different entity, ultimately different from me. And even deeper, what are the chances that my parents would have had a child in the first place? That they could have fallen in love? That they could have met within their lifetimes with enough time to interact. I often wonder what brought them to make eye contact for the first time, leading to the next. And I don't have any of the answers except to know that I've vowed to never pass up an opportunity to look someone in their eyes. And those were just my parents, because before them were my grandparents, all 4 of their stories. And before them, there were 8. And before them, there were 16, 32, 40, 6 generations ago, 54 individuals scattered around the world with completely separate intentions. Their paths completely different from each other, aside from the convergence of a single point in space-time continuum. Me. Okay, all right, if you want to be technical, and my 2 brothers. But I ask, what are the chances? Had my mother's grandparents now moved here from China, and she would have been 1 in a billion, speaking another tongue, living a parallel life never existed. And had my father's grandmother not been conceived through a secret love affair between a strong Hawaiian woman and a mystery man who gave her great eyes and fair complexion, and the combination of Hawaiian, Caucasian, and Chinese that makes me, would never have had a chance to be conceived. And I ask, what are the chances that Polynesian voyagers would have found such a small landmass separated by thousands of miles of sea? What are the chances that James Cook and his crew could have landed at Kealoha after New Stratford at sea? What are the chances that immigrants from Asian lands would take a chance on dreams and leave their countries for foreign borders to slave away on soil for fruits of possibilities? I don't have any of the answers except to know that I vowed never pass up an opportunity to understand someone else's culture. Because with 7.9 billion people living in this world comes 7.9 billion possibilities, that 7.9 billion points of wisdom to learn. What are the chances? The next person you meet could be the next Einstein. What are the chances? That our own lives will amount to greatness. What are the chances? That throughout our lives will teach others. What are the chances? The next ideal we spawn to revolutionize the world. What are the chances? Because the fact that we're simply here means we've already beat our odds genetically, that we already come from a long line of impossibilities. I don't have any of the answers, except to know that I've vowed to never stop striving to make something of my life. Because if being the next person to do something significant is 1 in a million, heck, 1 in a billion, then I'm willing to die trying, knowing that it was worth it. Because with 7.9 billion people living in this unpredictable world, someone's got to be willing to take that chance. Right on. Thank you. All right. Sounds like we're off to the start. Okay. So what I want to make sure is that we could all, that's the story of where I come from. And I mean, you know, when it comes down to it, if you just change a few of those data points, it kind of sounds like all of our stories. And that's what it is. We're all in this together as one human species, right? As a community. So what I want to do is I want to take us back to the old days. And I want to make sure that we're all starting on the same level. So if everybody could just imagine in your homes or wherever you're watching this, imagine yourselves at age 8. I want you to go back to the time when you were age 8 and close your eyes real quick. And I want you to picture yourself running through sprinklers. I want you to imagine that time on the playground at school when you were just so free. All right, cool. Let's open up our eyes. So the question of the day is this. Do you remember the days when we used to play on the playground every day? What was that thing we took? Recess. Yeah, that's right, recess. 50 minutes of sheer madness. 50 minutes of running around, getting down with all of your friends until the bell sounded, that inevitable bell that rocked the well of time dry. And I remember those days so vividly, licking Jell-O instant pudding off our hands, making forts out of sand and doing everything we can to just play. When's the last time you took 15 minutes out of your day to just run around and play? I mean, we used to do this every day. It was a staple of our existence, and those days are now dissonant, but if you close your eyes, you can remember it, those 15 minutes that now seem trivial. But when you were a kid, 15 minutes was ephemeral, everlasting. It was a fleeting moment, but it was so dang real. 15 minutes was enough time to swing your brains out, make a movie out of clouds. It's enough time to climb in and out, run the monkey bars 5 times. It's enough time to join a game of 4 squares and make it up to king, or swing red rubber spears at each other in the game of dodgeball with 3 teams moving in and out of rotation. It was enough time for 2 friends to run up and down hills, holding hands, singing ridiculous bits. It was enough time to get 1 kick in a game of kickball. And really, that's all you ever needed was 1 kick to show everybody what's up. I never had the power to crank it long like Angie Leong over the fence, hence a home run, but I could always get on base and tease my opposition, going for a squeeze play and escape easily, obtaining the extra base with a facial disgracial, right? When's the last time you grabbed your friends and played a game of kickball? When's the last time you approached someone eating raw ramen all crushed up inside the bag with the powder sprinkled all over it, stuck out your hand and said those 2 magic words, I like? When's the last time you just called someone and said, let's ride bikes? When's the last time you grabbed a carrot when you're in your BBDs and sang into it like a mic? Not in MRC said it, riding to the beach, keeping your heads bob because my style is deep. I'm talking about grabbing a carrot and singing some Lion King or some stuff like that. We didn't even know what that stuff meant, but it sounded brilliant. The equivalent of Mozart in our modern days. It captivated the imaginations of our youth. And now I get up 2 stairs when I'm singing at the top of my lungs while driving alone. Yo, people, hear me out. Why are we striving so hard to grow up? Why do we not in our free time call each other to go out and eat? When did sitting down and eating a meal at a restaurant ever replace creativity and the expression of the free spirit? I mean, that stuff is so sterile to me, and I don't feel well with sterility. When did going out to dinner ever become an activity? Sitting across the table from your friends and family breeds familiarity, but this type of formality is just too plain for me. Can't you see? Remember how it used to be? I mean, the fantasies that speed through my brain are entertained by visions long ago, and we used to potluck on the beach. Yeah, we'd eat. But then we'd teach each other how to flip, slide, ride, or fly. We could have done anything. It didn't matter. It was engaging. It was entertaining. We're learning how to be active and creative together. Remember? And now I see the masses of our generations falling into the trap of daily routine that's unceasing monotony, plaguing our society, and I be resisting. You see, I don't deal well with monotony. When did watching TV ever become an activity? Letting time pass, performing passive viewing, watching someone else do something we're not actually doing. Think about it, yeah? Letting time pass, performing passive viewing, watching someone else do something we're not actually doing. It's like we're recessing through the eyes of someone else's 15 minutes of fame when we could be out living our own 15 minutes of game. Do you remember the days when we used to play on the playground every day? What was that thing we took? Recess. Right on. Thank y'all. Cool. So this journey of mine, this poetry journey for the past 20-ish years, has been quite fulfilling and super just super fun, yeah. And one of the things I've always done, one of the practices that I've always had was whenever I wrote a poem, I would start to live that way. So after I wrote Recess, I decided it was time to put more play into my life. So one of those days, I was in the store one time, and I saw one of those a bin of one of those all of those red rubber kickballs, and I was like, okay, cool, let's get one of those and let's see what happens. So I did. I bought one of those. I used to carry around wherever I went, and I would sometimes go into the ocean and sort of float on it and throw it around. Anytime anybody saw me with one of those balls, they would always be like, oh yeah, let's go play something. So we'd start 4 square games on the sidewalks of Waikiki. We'd start kickball games in shopping center parking lots. It was a super fun time, and it still happens. I still have some kind of ball with me always. So this story takes place with me. It's a true story. It takes place with me coming out of the ocean with one of those red rubber kickballs. I was coming out of the ocean, approaching the showers, minding my own business, when I met this kid. He must have been about 1 to 2, walking but not talking yet. Completely naked, skin soon to be brown, but as of now, completely unexposed. So he's looking at me. And I look back. He stares intently at the red rubber ball in my hands, all wide-eyed. I'm like, oh, you want this ball. He immediately grabs it, bounces it, and giggles. He just thinks of his own imagination, and I continue all my business, shower up as if to say, hey, you go play with that ball for a bit. He runs off. His mama calls to him, McConnell, be careful. And I think to myself, McConnell? Yeah, McConnell means gift. And I continue on my business, but this kid is captivating me. He's expressing pure joy without words. He hurls the ball with all his might to keep him in my sight. As sand swishes off my feet. Now I'm double, no, hold on. Triple rinsing my hair, which I never really do, but I'm doing all that I can to stall. I just want him to experience that ball. And by the 5th rinse, it's time for me to go. And I know, it's gonna be difficult for me to get that ball back. But he throws it to me, appreciative of the time. And at this point, I'm having a very hard time leaving. So I roll the ball back. He picks it up, bounces it for a second, then checks it back to me. It now seems as if we've got game. So I stay in. We play back and forth, back and forth for a bit, but then he stops, drops the ball, it rolls off, and he holds up his hand. Well, knowing me, I go get the ball, then I go to give him 5, but realize that that's not what he's trying to communicate. He looks sad or in pain. Yeah, that's it. It's pain because then I'll see a pokey pricking into his finger. I barely even touch it, but he reacts automatically, shudders dramatically, and yet he still stands with his hand out. You see, he trusts me with this pokey. So I'm thinking to myself, I gotta do this quick, otherwise we're both in deep trouble because his skin is like tissue. It's ridiculously sensitive and pokies. Yo, they really hurt, y'all. And his eyes are peering into mine with pure trust, you see. He hasn't yet been sworn into a childhood of don't talk to strangers, the dangerous villains out to get you. Hasn't had time to learn how to ignore the rest of his community as his day passes by. He hasn't learned the societal nonsense. He's simply being as his heart tells him to be. Trusting me. And he's open and standing, and I'm asking his mama who's 5 feet away, hey, is it okay? She smiles and nods yes. She gives me the go-ahead, and so I go. I take a deep breath, and I watch the move by, grab and pull simultaneously. His body twitches temporarily, but the worst is now over. And he looks, and he smiles, and I nearly cry. You see, this is the essence of existence. He goes to pick up the ball as if to play again, but the time has come to an end, and my new friend is wondering where I'm wandering to, so walk away slowly, saying, Makana, you can have the ball. And for me, it was a small price to pay for a brief lesson of essence. Awesome, cool. I hope all of y'all are doing well out there. Might have time for a couple more poems. But here's the deal. I want to make sure that we announce this now before this session is getting too close to the end. If you didn't register for the workshops, we're gonna post the link in the comment section. Joy, I think you're on that, right? So make sure that after this performance part is POW, y'all can click on that or like copy and paste it and get into the workshop via the comment section. All right, that being said, I wanted to do, let's see what we got. Okay, let's do a piece about the sunrise. Let's do a piece of the sunrise. So a few years back, I spent a number of mornings just studying the sunrise. I want to sort of let that inspiration take me. And I was thinking a lot about Hokulea. I was thinking about the way that those folks study the stars and the sunrise and the sunset. So this piece came out during that. We sit here in darkness. Dawn will soon emerge before us, but for now, only silence. Words need not be spoken, our eyes soak in the shadows of night. The cold rests upon our skin as we breathe in the stillness. This world is motionless. Our bodies are silhouettes in the blanketing moonbeams. We gaze up to the infinite sky. Fix our eyes on Ho'okupa, the North Star. It keeps us grounded and steadfast, rooted in our traditions. We are home. The ocean is our soundtrack. The salt air smells of peace. We look to the east to see a glow of blue sapphire over the horizon, humming with possibilities. The sky is changing. And change comes easier when we accept the uncertainties. The color. It embraces our gaze. It embraces our gazes gently with profound understanding. It is rich with wisdom. An accumulation of lights growing the east, caressing, traveling past Tokyo and Cairo, past Geneva and San Francisco. Let us harness the warmth of your experiences, engage our imaginations with an image of our potential. Let us never forget how far we've come, where we are going. We align our sights with the horizon. And as the blue expands to the collage of cumulus clouds hovering above, with these thin band of fiery red burning like the underside of coals. We close our eyes and take a mental snapshot so remember how the brushstrokes of blue and red blend together in symbiotic harmony. The sky is changing. And change comes easier when we celebrate diversity. An Oyo koha bird swoops overhead. It is youthful in its power, yet elegant in its design. Its effortless flight is a roadmap for our societal evolution. Every movement learned through a lifetime of patience and rigorous study. Its twitch muscles vibrate with strength and efficiency. Its heartbeat pulses with the purest of energy. Its near weightless feathers are flawless in their technology. It calls out to the dawn as the horizon blazes a crisp yellow crescendo and the neon clouds scatter pink patterns across the sky like polyrhythmic drum beats for visionaries. The sky is changing. And change comes easier when it evolves with understanding. Palm trees now quiver as the first trade wind set in. The Aina stirs to life, the anticipation intensifies, and as our sky becomes light, Hokulea, the fine remaining star in our sight still shines above us, guides us as our beacon. We wrap our wishes into its last visible sparkles. Let us fulfill the promises we made to our future generations. Let us build from the roots of our deepest intentions. Let us come together as one until we stand hand in hand, open hearts to the rising sun, for a new day in our beautiful lives has just begun. Awesome. Right on. Thank you all for coming along with me on this ride. I want to close this performance section out with one last piece, and then we're gonna move on to the workshop. So, okay, this one goes like this. Tonight, I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about what you stand for and realize that all the mistakes you've ever made mean nothing in the long term. For every year you live, the universe will be around for trillions. And for every friend you've made, there are billions yet to be born that you will never meet. In the grand scheme of things, we are nobody. And yet at the same time, we are everything. We are X and Y chromosomes. We are G, C, A, and T genomes. We are complex carbohydrates, simple proteins, soft tissue, hardwired neurons. We are strong bonds linked in nervous systems. And while this Earth's surface is covered with 65% salt water, we are walking bags made of 65% salt water, merely mimicking the environment that we evolved from. And when we are done, this flesh we call our own returns home to the sea where we dissipate, evaporate into water vapor, and these bones will be broken down by the roots of the tallest trees, while this earth hurling through space will freeze and boil as it has for eons as it orbits the sun, which in 5 billion years will transform into a red giant and scorch all life as we know it. Its last blast before it fizzles into a whimper, remembered by nobody. Or maybe charted by aliens as they peer through telescopes, logging your sun as the data that came and went, and these aliens, whoever they may or may not be, shoot, I want them to think about their lives. I want you to think about your life as you're studying me through your primitive telescopes, and I want everybody, the aliens, you and me to realize that even when our hearts break, or when work gets rough, or when rent's due, or when someone somewhere says something stupid about you, even in the face of homicide, genocide, and suicide, in the face of racism, sexism, classism, and insert really bad word here, ism, no matter how hard life may get for you or for other people, zoom out. Zoom out and realize that all the evil in this world is transient. Heck, all the good in this world is transient. You, me, all of us are transient. You would not be you in the grand scheme of things, which makes all your suffering temporary, which makes your ecstasy the most exciting thing worth remembering as part of the universe expressing itself in one giant celebration known as the Big Bang. We are its aftermath sigh, its alibi for not having a reason. You are the universe learning about itself. You are the universe asking itself why it's here. You will soon be the universe out learning or asking anything. You are everything and nothing at the same time, and no matter how hard it is to admit, no matter how afraid we get and how much we don't want to deny the truth, well, the truth is, we're gonna die. Maybe not tonight, tomorrow, or next year, but sooner or later, we're all gonna die, but the truth is hard to swallow. And so we do everything we can to avoid the big picture, because the big picture is paralyzing you. So we focus our eyes on the day-to-day dramas of our lives, but not tonight. Tonight, I want you to think about your life right here. Not here, wherever you're sitting, laid down, or standing to view this big read Hawaii, but here, this world, planet Earth, here, this galaxy, this universe. We are not cavemen anymore. There are no saber-toothed tigers lurking in the shadows, yet most of us cling to our fears like the animals we evolved from. What are we so afraid of? We've been etching the same patterns in the same predictable places for years. Why do we live the way that they tell us to? And man, who the heck are they anyway? It's about time we start doing what's in our hearts, because that's all we really got. I want you to think about all the things you wish you could do. And tonight, I want you to do one of them. And tomorrow, another. Our lives are temporary art pieces. We are works in progress. So I say, paint your butt off. Use fluorescent yellows and reds in the places where there aren't any color. Dance for the moment. Sculpt your life out of soil and make the universe smile. Be the expressive process that is humanity. Tonight, I want you to think about your life, and tomorrow, y'all, go on out there and live it. Right on. Thank you so much for tuning in to this performance section of the Big Read Hawaii, my situation. Don't forget that there's all kinds of events going on throughout the month of March and April. But what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go into another Zoom room. And I believe, I haven't been checking the comments or nothing. It should be in there. Yeah? Oh, there it is. Okay, if you can all go and go to that link that's in the comment section, then we can move on to the workshop. And here's the thing about the workshop, y'all. I promise that we're gonna do some writing, and I promise you that if you go through all the things that I ask you to do, you're gonna end up with a really cool piece that you can share with anybody. You'll be super stoked on it. And I promise you a really cool experience. So get in there. I'll see you in there. Let's do this, okay?
Mahalo, 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 Kealoha. While Kealoha is taking a breather, please go ahead and head over to the next Zoom room. So we're gonna close this Zoom room. And if you join in the next room that I placed in the chat, we'll join Kealoha in his slam writing workshop. So let's put our hands together for Kealoha.